Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Now write this down. The problem with the economy is that it is immoral. Right? The economic processes of the economy are immoral. And they are governed by Dionysus and Apollo. Now bear with me. I'll show you definitively that I'm right without a very religious explanation. Just an explanation of what I'm sure everyone would agree are the facts. See, Dionysus represents a bunch of ideas that are combined. For example, sexual sadism isn't just sexual. It's sexual sadism. It isn't just sadism. It's sexual sadism. Dionysus very much is a deity of sexual sadism, but he's a deity of many other things. And when you start to understand what ritual madness is, then you'll see Dionysus, right? You'll see that kind of overlap of the principles that make up Dionysus that come together as Dionysus. For example, if a bunch of people at a football game came together in the name of that school's spirit, and they start behaving a certain way, the various components come together to make up that school's spirit. Dionysus has various components. He's said to be a deity of this and that and the other thing, and those are the components. So Dionysus is a deity of false conceptions of equality, of fertility, satanic fertility, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, grapes, and the word rapes is in the word grapes for a reason, the vine, the tree, the harvest, Luciferian inspiration, like the way that rape scenes in a movie inspire people to rape or inspire a certain response that leads them to a Luciferian lifestyle. Luciferian fake conceptions of freedom, right? Luciferian or satanic liberation. Rape by deception, pagan sex, orgies, LGBT spirits and activities, theater arts, wine, satanic passion, Luciferian instincts, Luciferian emotions, death, Luciferian resurrection, right? Killing the righteous, and then that brings about a spirit that is Luciferian that they pretend is divine, right? So it's a Luciferian resurrection. For example, if Herod, organized with Pilate to execute Christ, okay, and they got together and pretended that they were doing Christ's work after that. That is Dionysian. It's Luciferian resurrection. Luciferian salvation. So-called eternal life, which is basically Luciferian nonsense, has various applications. One is the idea that when people keep doing the Dionysian rituals, that they're keeping the spirits that are captive in Dionysus' spirit, if you will, the souls that are captive in his spirit alive. Dionysus is said to be chthonic and dark, and very much associated with snakes and magic. Keep in mind the government is said to govern the mentality. Govern and ment, meaning mind is in mental, mentality, and mentation. Dionysus is also a deity of arts and revelry. Right? Luciferian arts, Luciferian revelry, moisture, because it has to do with the harvest, metamorphosis, transformation, trance-like state, transformation, and growth of vegetation, and how it is a symbol or a metaphor for the growth of Satan's spirit of fertility, of satanic fertility. For example, when the Dionysian cult spread across the ancient world, it's in Africa, it's in India, it's all over the place. The Middle East, Greece, Rome, all throughout Europe. The satanic spirit of reproduction, the satanic dating and marriages spread as well. The churches are Dionysian, the mosques, the synagogues, the government itself. And so what's wrong with the economy? Well, people keep abusing substances. Dionysus is a deity of substances, especially wine. And that causes a burden on the healthcare system. Okay? And so the price of healthcare goes up. And when the government subsidizes healthcare with Medicare and Medicaid, okay, and what have you, subsidizes the healthcare of the poor, for example, they pay more than they otherwise would. The government refuses to catch its mistake, right? Because they're too busy partying, right? A deity of revelry. The corporate guys too busy with their fancy parties, fancy wine, fancy yachts. They're partying. They're revelers. Revelation. Reveal Alpha Shun. Reveal the Alpha Shun by the revelers. Revelation. They pretend people are equal and that everything's fair. So people who are moral never have a chance to rise to the top and to change things. The mentality, right? Government. The mentality of the governing class is revelry. It's rape by deception. It's false conceptions of freedom. And it's every aspect of the culture. I am the gate. I'm the only one who's not taken part in it. Dionysus loves pretending to be a Christian who maybe doesn't participate in holidays or this or that, maybe calls out this aspect or that. But just like the left-right paradigm, right, both parties are evil, and they pretend to be in the right. Just like all these cults and churches, mosques, synagogues, atheists, you name it. So it's moral precision versus ritual madness, being morally precise to the best of your ability, which only is truly effective if you don't cheat me out of my right to lead. Because then you're unwittingly part of the ritual madness. Because the ritual there, the key word is ritual, right you lay, ritual, the rite, R-I-T-E, why they pretend to be in the right, R-I-G-H-T. The ritual is there to get you to rebel against God, right? Satan is the adversary of God in the spirit of universal pinpoint and moral precision. And in his form, Apollo, who's like an alter ego of Dionysus. He's said to be a deity of light. It was Luciferian light, science, Luciferian sciences, Luciferian arts, Luciferian prophecy, Luciferian in general. The tree of knowledge, Luciferian knowledge, Luciferian archery. Has the word arc in it. Apollo is said to be a deity of plagues and medicine because if you don't do things his Luciferian way, he sends a plague. And if you do, he throws you a bone in the form of medicine and things like this. Apollo is simply the alter ego of Dionysus, like Hades is said to be the alter ego of Zeus. That is the more accurate way to explain. If you explain it as if they're separate deities and that's all there is to it, you're not explaining it well. The word Dionysus comes from the word Dios, meaning Zeus, or quote-unquote God, and Nisus, which is a play on words, which is similar to the word Nusa, meaning tree, and similar to the word Nicaea, where the Council of Nicaea, which determined the Nicene Creed and the books that would go into the Bible, was held in 322 or so AD. Now I could go on and on about Dionysus, his various names, Bacchus, Iacchus, Zagreus, Sabazius, and Liber Pater, but let me just keep this relatively short and say that Dionysus is often depicted as a satyr, like Pan, with this kind of evil face and horns and these goat legs, okay? And he's often, a scapegoat. He's said to be a man of suffering who has to suffer and overcome. And he's a scapegoat for people who are pretending that they're in the right, like, the government, the European governing class, people with crests and suits who pretend they're civilized and pretend the poor are barbaric and said that the Native Americans were angry red savages and so on and so forth. He's the people who, he's the part of Western culture that pretends that it's in the right, where the other part might be, rock and roll, even, gangster rap. So it it is very much white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy heavy, but it includes everybody in Western culture. And the simple answer, everyone in all the cultures in the world but mine. Me, specifically my individual culture, which is universal, pinpoint, and moral precision. The word pani means all, for all the Greco-Roman deities, and pan is also a satyr. You know, a goat-legged being. Okay, and there's also Saturn, the festival of Saturnalia in Christmas, which is Saturn's a deity of role reversal. This form Cronus, crow, sun, scrambled, Cronus, right? No sun, the dead sun, the red sun is, the black sun, what have you. He's said to eat his own children. Now, why? Well, he's a satyr. Saturn is also a satyr in his own right. He's related to Pan, no matter how you slice it. And Pan's followers are said to be satyrs and Maenads, fairy-like deities that are, basically sluts that uphold the Dionysian cult. Very similar to the word maid, Maenad. Main and maid, those are connected. But anyway, so Saturn, who's the father of Zeus, who's also known as Bel or Set in Egyptian mythology, okay, is very much connected to Christmas, where they pretend the birth of Jesus, which is really the birth of Dionysus. Now, I could go on and on and on, but I want to emphasize the core part. The problem with the economy is that it is immoral. It is immoral and governed by Dionysian thinking and Dionysian cultures. Okay, again, if you're trying to fix the economy, say, hey, let's get the healthcare costs down. Let's effectively, in an organized and logical manner, solve homelessness. Let's create farming programs. What's stopping the state? What's stopping the people? The people refuse to get together and organize because they're too busy reveling and wallowing in self-pity. Dionysus is a deity of suffering and partying, not organizing to solve the problem. And Apollo is a deity of pretending to organize to solve the problem. So you have a bunch of people pretending to organize to solve the problem. You have a bunch of people wallowing in self-pity. And you have a bunch of people who are reveling, partying in various ways. And there's also the rape by deception. So when people really need to heal with a suitable helper, right? Genesis is not good for him to be alone. Let me make him a suitable helper. Instead, it's rape by deception nonsense, which is determining who dates who. And for those of you who doubt this is what's going on, explain to me why there's so many Greek societies. Why are they Greek societies? Why aren't they Chinese or Native American or Mexican or Arab? Why are they Greek societies? Did the Greeks colonize America? No. It was like the English and other European guys, and they fought with each other, and the English kind of won out. That's why we speak English here in America. So why Greek societies? Why are they all over the world? Because it's Dionysian, Greco-Roman, Neo-Roman cultures, ritual madness. It's Dionysian thinking. If everyone was moral and scrambling to the best of their ability to solve the economy, it would be solved. Healthcare costs will be way down. Homelessness will be solved. There'll be massive farming programs. There'll be all kinds of economic opportunities. The exact way money is spent would benefit the nation instead of it leaving unnecessarily to other countries. Now, keep in mind, I think that every country should masterfully move and their economy should thrive. But the problem here has a lot of components to it, a lot of facets to it, a lot of parts to it. And one of the problems is people spend a lot of money on drugs, and that money leaves this country. And it causes a lot of healthcare issues and criminal issues and a lot of problems. Another one is they spend a lot of money on foreign goods for countries that also are part of a Dionysian ritual madness process. Racism is a problem. Sexism is a problem. Okay? People not telling the truth. The way is the truth and the life. And God is all good, all knowing, and all powerful. To get true power, one has to be all good to the best of their ability. And the power to fix the economy is something that can only be attained through true power. Now, let me explain to you what it means by fixing the economy. Let's say we got rid of the debt, okay, and the economy's thriving, and everyone's hooked to a machine, and all the righteous are gone, and they're pretending to be righteous. That's Apollo. When the harvest is done, Apollo is said to leave. In the summer, Apollo is said to return. But what happens, right? The word Apollo is like a word appalling for a reason. Low down, no good, dirty, right? Ap low, right? Low down, dirty, no good. That's not a good ending. So if you were eating your family and you felt like you were on top of the world, is that good? If that's the output of the economy, is that a good thing? Well, you are figuratively eating your offspring when you're in the spirit of Apollo and Saturn, because you're pretending to be good, but you're feeding into Dionysian ritual magic. For those of you who are confused a little bit, let me wrap this up by saying this. I know I put it, that's a little confusing there. So let me try to shed some light on this. Some true light, not Apollo garbage, not Dionysian filth, but true light. Who is Dr. Jekyll? Well, he is Mr. Hyde. Why? Because Dr. Jekyll is just a bitch putting on a show covering up the fact that he's Mr. Hyde, wittingly or otherwise. Who he really is a monster. When we say someone's a serial killer, we don't say, well, he's a kind of cool guy and he's a serial killer. We say he's a serial killer. There is no being part good and part evil. Being part conformist is not the same as being part good. That conformist is like Apollo. He goes to work every day, waves at his neighbors, what have you, opens the door for people. So what? The underlying spirit of every nation in the world is Dionysus. It is not divine or moral precision. Thank you.